It's almost March Madness, and I wanted to celebrate NCAA basketball by making a data visualization app, as well as one that will analyze, using AI, of course, how teams are doing. So look at the statistics. So how it works is we have our Cloudflare Worker app, and this presents a user interface that the user can type in a team or two to compare. And this worker then hits either Cloudflare KV, which is how we cache the data, because to hit the NCAA API, that takes time. And we don't have time. So if we've already gotten the data, cache it in KV, and we have the NCAA API, and we send that data to Cloudflare D1. So we store it in D1 database, and then we present that data to the user to store structured NCAA data. And with that data, we pass it to Workers AI to return some data analysis, some AI analysis evaluating the response, evaluating the data. And we also have a data visualization, which I think is really cool, because pretty like, how is this team doing in a different conference? And of course we have men's, women's, so many. And that is a SQL database. And the data is refreshed. So if there's a game, then it's refreshed, I think, every day, once a day. Which could be better, but I digress. Let's see it in action. So here we are in our stats tab, and we can select a conference. Let's say the SEC. Okay, so it says Texas is ahead with 15 conference wins. South Carolina has 15 conference wins and 1 loss. Is that correct? Let's see. A tab. Okay, 15-1 conference. Yes. So this is up to date. I just looked this up on Google, so it has to be right. And we can compare, of course, different teams as well. So that's the data visualization. And you can pick different conferences for conference wins, conference losses, different leagues, WCC. Ooh, San Francisco, USF. Where's Berkeley? They moved. Okay. You can also look at men's. Sunbelt. James Madison doing well. Patriot League. That sounds cool. Hey. American University. Not doing well. 17 conference losses. Not their season. But that's okay, because next season could be their season. And also get to some analysis. So enter up to 2 team names. Let's do men's. And this is just because I know South Carolina men. Not doing that well. And I haven't. So this data is also for basketball men, but need to update that URL. Whoops. This is where this has not been cached. So it's going to take some time. Tick tock, tick tock. Yes, they have a disappointing season. 2-15 conference record. You can also look at women's, South Carolina. Analyze that. That was much faster. This is the Workers AI generated response, because I've been testing this with women's South Carolina women's team. Okay, so that was all good and fun. Testing out the analysis and the stats for different conferences and different gender leagues. Let's dig into some code. In our wrangler.jsonc, we have our KV namespace, AI binding for the Workers AI model, D1 database, where we put in the NCAA data. Then in our entry point to our Cloudflare worker, make that bigger, no, like that. We have our bindings for different D1 databases, one for women. And I made this first. I made the women's first, so that was going to be DB eventually, and then I added on the men. So DB men. The men were secondary. Kind of funny. And we don't actually need my browser. I was going to use browser rendering, but I ended up not using browser rendering. We have our team stats, this format, the NCAA D1 response. Each team has conference and as well as their stats. Yeah, text generation output is a string. Then our cached data, we keep track of timestamp, response, teams, which is an array, stats, array, men or women, and the DB update time. In our fetch handler, set some cores, parse the URL, handle the routes. We display the HTML form here at root, and then /stats will give that data visualization page. This is the endpoint where we fetch and display the stats for either gender. Initialize the men's database with fetching fresh data from the NCAA API. We hit that API here, that URL. Get that response. And then add it to the database, the D1 database. We update the teams one at a time. Here, love seeing SQL. We have the team's overall wins, overall losses, overall game winning percentage, and then that differs from the conference wins, conference losses, and conference winning loss percentage. We continue to return existing data even if updating the database fails. Get all the team's data from D1, more SQL. Return the stats data results. A lot of logging. I had some trouble with the KV caching, so ended up logging a lot. Here's the endpoint to initialize the men's basketball database. Initialize men's database, database. The D1 binding. Cache data. If we wanted to clear all cached data, delete each cached item. Hit the analyze endpoint, and this is where we will get the workers AI analysis, checking that team's array is not empty. When the user types in something, normalize team names when someone types it in, create a unique cache key according to gender and the sort of team names, pick the appropriate D1 database according to gender, which is like that selector. They could have selected women or men. I think women was the default. Yeah. But I really enjoyed women's sports. Thank you, Caitlin Clark, women's basketball. Get the current Unix timestamp. Fetch fresh data from the NCAA API. Okay. Update only the requested teams in the database, D1. Skip if the team name is missing or not in requested teams. Update team's record in the D1 database with fresh data. Fetch current stats after changes because people are still playing, teams are still playing. Big format of madness. We get our AI analysis. System prompt, your basketball analysis, provide a very brief analysis. Feel free to change that. Then we have quick analysis of team and gender in a conference and their win-loss percentage. 2 to 3 sentence analysis. Could ask for more. And of course we use AI Gateway. And combine individual analyses if the user put in multiple teams. And we get that AI analysis and return it. And if you're wondering about the data visualization, we make that chart with chart.js. Here's our get stats page function, where we display HTML, a lot of CSS for the form, button on click to hit the stats endpoint. select conference. So that dropdown was populated with all the conferences in the NCAA Division I. Chart container, so that's where the data viz was displayed. And here is that script with the function fetch and display stats with input gender for men or women. We fetch the stats, API stats gender endpoint. Parse group by conference. We populate the dropdown. Add event listeners for when someone might switch gender. And then add to create conference chart with different colors, green for winning, red for losses, and orange for the percentage, the win-loss percentage. Sort teams, might destroy an existing chart if the user selects a new gender or conference, and then create new chart. Passing in canvas, type bar, because we want a bar chart. Our labels are the schools, and then our different data sets according to conference wins, conference losses, and the conference percentage. Yeah, different options like make it responsive. We could click on like ignore wins or like ignore losses, etc. The legend is at the top, and then our tooltips and scales for like the tick marks. Yeah, so there is so much fun to be had with Cloudflare D1 SQL database, key value for caching, or if you just need a key value storage, Workers AI for generating AI analyses with text, Workers for hosting the application, and the NCAA API. A lot of data, a lot of fun. So I can't wait to see what you cook up.